Good day, everybody. It is the Desert Viking. And today we are going to be reading again from the Kybalion. Today is Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is a short chapter, and it's on mental transmutation. So again, as you're digesting this work, listen to what is being said and think about it. Take a couple days to think about it, and then we move on. That's how you process this type of information. This is not something that you can just read real quickly and hope to understand and get. A lot of times you have to read these things several times, and it's a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong practice. This is just, if this is your first time hearing this, this is the seeds, but it will continue throughout the rest of your life. All right, so let's hear what Hermes says about mental transmutation. Chapter 3. Mind, as well as metals and elements, may be transmuted from state to state, degree to degree, condition to condition, pole to pole, vibration to vibration. True hermetic transmutation is a mental art. And before I delve into that, that is where alchemy comes from. And we all think of alchemy as turning lead into gold and, physically changing things with the Philosopher's Stone, which is it's not just for Harry Potter. The Philosopher's Stone is a very highly sought after formula, even to this day. But alchemy often deals with transmutation of the self, and it's turning your heart of lead into gold. So this is about mental transmutation, transforming who you are inside, which is far more important than the vehicle that we're currently endowed with on the physical plane. As we have stated, the Hermeticists were the original alchemists, astrologers, and psychologists, Hermes having been the founder of these schools of thought. From astrology has grown modern astronomy, from alchemy has grown modern chemistry, and from the mystic psychology has grown the modern psychology of the schools. But it not be supposed that the ancients were ignorant of that which the modern schools supposed to be their exclusive and special property. The records engraved on the stones of ancient Egypt show conclusively that the ancients had a full comprehensive knowledge of astronomy, the very buildings of the pyramids showing the connection between their design and the study of astronomical science. Nor were they ignorant of chemistry, for the fragments of the ancient writings show that they were acquainted with the chemical properties of things. In fact, the ancient theories regarding physics are being slowly verified by the latest discoveries of modern science, notably those relating to the constitution of matter. Nor must it be supposed that they were ignorant of the so-called modern discoveries in psychology. On the contrary, the Egyptians were especially skilled in the science of psychology, particularly in the branches that the modern schools ignore, but which nevertheless are being uncovered under the name of psychic science, which is perplexing the psychologists of today, and making them reluctantly admit that there may be something in it after all. The truth is that beneath the material chemistry, astronomy, and psychology, that is, the psychology in its phase of brain action, the ancients possessed a knowledge of transcendental astronomy called astrology, of transcendental chemistry called alchemy, of transcendental psychology called mystic psychology. They possessed the inner knowledge as well as the outer knowledge, the latter alone being possessed by modern scientists. Among the many secret branches of knowledge possessed by the Hermeticists was that known as mental transmutation, which forms the subject matter of this lesson. Transmutation is a term usually employed to designate the ancient art of the transmutation of metal, particularly of the base metals, into gold. The word transmute means to change from one nature, form, or substance into another, to transform. And accordingly, mental transmutation means the art of changing and transforming mental states, forming forms and conditions into others. So you may see that mental transmutation is the art of mental chemistry, if you like the term, a form of practical mystic psychology. And just as an aside, not in this book, my own aside, when it comes to Freemasonry, Freemasonry is exactly this right here. If you want to know why should men look into it? It is mental transmutation. It is transforming you from worrying about materialism, worrying about the physical things, worrying about this life, and transmuting yourself into obtaining the knowledge needed to move on into the next life, and to transmuting your current state into one of more of harmony with nature and your surroundings. So that, again, that's just an aside. That's not in this book. But let me continue now, reading chapter 3. But this means far more than appears on the surface. Transmutation, alchemy, or chemistry on the mental plane is important enough in its effects to be sure. And if the arts stopped there, it would still be one of the most important branches of study known to man. But this is only the beginning. Let us see why. The first of the 7 Hermetic principles is the principle of mentalism, the axiom of which, the all is mind, the universe is mental, which means that the underlying reality of the universe is mind, and the universe itself is mental, that is, existing in the mind of the all. We shall consider this principle in succeeding lessons, but let us see the effect of the principle if it is to be assumed to be true. If the universe is mental in its nature, then mental transmutation must be the art of changing the conditions of the universe, along the lines of matter, force, and mind. So you see, therefore, that mental transmutation is really the magic, quote-unquote, of which the ancient writers have so much to say in their mystical works, and about which they gave so few practical instructions. If all be mental, then the art which enables one to transmute mental conditions must render the master the controller of material conditions as well as those ordinarily called mental. Okay. As a matter of fact, none but advanced mental alchemists have been able to attain the degree of power necessary to control the grosser physical conditions, such as the control of the elements of nature, the production of cessation of tempests, the production and cessation of earthquakes, and other great physical phenomena. But that such men have existed, and do exist today, is a matter of earnest belief to all advanced occultists of all schools. That the masters exist, and have these powers, the best teachers assure their students, having had experiences which justify them in such belief and statements. These masters do not make public exhibitions of their powers, but seek seclusion from the crowds of men, in order to better work there may along the path of attainment. We mention their existence at this point merely to call your attention to the fact that their power is entirely mental and operates along the lines of the higher mental transmutation under the Hermetic principle of mentalism. The universe is mental, the Kybalion. But students and Hermeticists of lesser degree than masters, the initiates and the teachers, are able to freely work along the mental plane in mental transmutation. In fact, all that we call psychic phenomena, mental influence, mental science, new thought phenomena, etc., operates along the same general lines. For there is but one principle involved, no matter by what name the phenomena is called. The student and practitioner of mental transmutation works along the mental plane, transmuting mental conditions, states, etc. into others, according to various formulas, more or less efficacious. And I got that word super wrong. I apologize. Efficacious. It's a word I've not used before. The various treatments, affirmations, denials, etc. of the schools of mental science are but formulas, often quite imperfect and unscientific, of the Hermetic art. The majority of modern practitioners are quite ignorant compared to the ancient masters, for they lack the fundamental knowledge upon which the work is based. Not only may the mental states, etc., of oneself be changed or transmuted by Hermetic methods, but also the states of others may be, and are, constantly transmuted in the same way, usually unconsciously, but often consciously by some understanding the laws and principles, in cases where the people affected are not informed of the principles of self-protection. And more than this, as many students and practitioners of modern mental science knows, every material condition depending upon the minds of other people may be changed or transmuted in accordance with the earnest desire, will, and treatments of person desiring change conditions of life. The public are so generally informed regarding these things at present that we do not deem it necessary to mention the same at length, our purpose at this point being merely to show the Hermetic principle in art underlying all of these various forms of practice, good and evil, for the force can be used in opposite directions according to the Hermetic principles of polarity. In this little book, we shall state the basic principles of mental transmutation, that all who read may grasp the underlying principles, and thus possess the master key that will unlock the many doors of the principles of polarity. We shall now proceed to a consideration of the first of the Hermetic 7 principles, the principle of mentalism, in which is explained the truth that the all is mind, the universe is mental, in the words of the Kybalion. We ask the close attention and careful study of this great principle on the part of our students, for it is really the basic principle of the whole Hermetic philosophy and of the Hermetic art of mental transmutation. And we will begin that in Chapter 4. Now, a couple things that we're talking about here. This was basically laying the groundwork. Hermetic principles are, for me, a cornerstone in my learning. They are but one, and as I alluded to in previous videos, my cornerstones are Hermetic philosophies, which this little book is summarizing. This is not all of the Hermetic philosophies. We may explore those in later videos. The Kabbalah, Freemasonry in general, and meditation. Now, the universe is mental. This can lead into all kinds of different rabbit holes and all kinds of different neat conversations, meaning that we're all part of God, or we are God, and it lives inside of us. The kingdom of heaven lives within, and we are awakening to that, and that's the purpose of us being here. That is one theory. It happens to be a theory that I also endorse, but there are many truths, and I recognize that, but that everything is formed within the mind, and who we are, our physical self is not who we are. Who we are is inside, and you learn through the Kabbalah and other things how to get to that upper self, and your guardian angels and everything else that you may have heard before. All of those things reside within, and accessing those is important. They also made mention of the the initiates and the teachers. So Freemasonry is broken into 3 degrees, and it follows basically those same principles. In Freemasonry, we have the entered apprentice, which is the initiate. You have the fellow craft, which is the 2nd degree, which is associated with the teachers. And then you have the master masons, which are associated with the masters. Now, I'm here to say, in my own personal opinion, other groups get more in depth. For example, the Rosicrucians used to have, the ones that I know, have 10 degrees, and they got rid of the one that I know got rid of the 10th degree, so it's just 9. And it follows the same formula. You have the first 4 degrees are initiates, the next 3 degrees are teachers, and the last 2 are the masters. And it takes a very long time to climb to those levels. Titles ultimately mean nothing. It doesn't matter what group you're in, doesn't matter if you're self-initiated. Titles mean nothing. You'll know at what level you sit. And, levels are a man-made construct, but they're kind of used to gauge, right? So initiates are, you're just learning. And for the Rosicrucians, that's the first 4 degrees. For Freemasonry, it's the 1st degree. Though I'd say all 3 degrees of Freemasonry are still, once you complete that 3rd degree, you're still very much learning. You'll find out there's lots of doors that appear. The teachers know enough of a foundation that they begin to instruct otherwise. And then the masters are the ones that can employ this stuff. Any of those 3 levels can begin, to learn. And even if you're not if you're not initiated, you're not anything. That word for that is profane. You can self-initiate. You can find a group and be initiated. There's many ways to get involved to actually start to look into it. And this is a subject matter that will call to you. And if it calls to you, you answer the call. And there's many ways to answer the call. And to me, no one way is better than the other or worse than the other. So seek and you will find. Knock at the door and the door will be opened. But do it if you're called upon it. And at that point, start listening to these words. Start reading. Start opening yourself up to more than just this world and chasing after money and women and whatever, because there's a lot more to the world than that. It's just that those things are right. Those are the very easy things to chase after to appease our animal mind, basically, and we want to kind of get over that. It's It's all mentalism. Mental alchemy, changing how you think, changing how you feel, transforming yourself into something else. That's the path you want to follow. And I will conclude with this. Reading is great. Reading is the first step. But as the Kabbalah teaches us, knowledge with neither wisdom nor understanding is useless. So just reading and memorizing something out of a book isn't going to get you there. It's going to take wisdom and understanding, meditating upon those things that you've read and you're hearing. Thank you very much for listening. When next we meet, we're going to get into Chapter 4. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the video. Feel free to reach out. I do answer any inquiries to the best of my ability. And until then, I'll see you later. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.